Hi everyone, hope you're doing well from wherever you're watching this channel, depending on your time zone. Now, yesterday, TV47 was at Musalia Mudavadi Center, and they were granted a chance to interview the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi.
You know, this was an election year. It's coming to an end. But what is going to be key is that Kenyans must now get out of the election mode. All right, we must now start thinking differently and start looking for solutions to the challenges that we have. So that is going to be my rallying call to the people of Kenya, that it is now time to look forward. The election ahead of us is in 2027. It is time for those of us who are in government to deliver what we promised.
Now, for me, when it comes to the first 100 days of William Samoei Ruto in the office, there's nothing we can celebrate. There are so many problems people are facing, and it has come with a lot of pain to Kenyans. So my focus was on Musalia Mudavadi's view to do with the BBI that failed. There are several things he was mentioning, which were some of the main reasons why BBI failed.
Let's take even the process of the BBI. You know, where people were seeing that something is being imposed on them, and the government of the day is refusing to listen. You remember, I give you an example. Do you remember I stood in Bomas and I told people, how on earth do you say that you want to have the independence of the judiciary, and you are putting in this BBI document that the executive, the president, shall appoint an ombudsman to oversee the judiciary? So that if every judge is about to write a judgment, there is somebody looking over the shoulder of the judge to see whether the judgment is in conformity or not in conformity.
That means the independence of judiciary
is destroyed.
Yeah.
So what happens? You go to Bomas, you tell them that. The ones who are refusing to see start jeering you. But at the end of the day, do you think the judiciary would have allowed a supervisor over their judgments? So who shot themselves in the foot?
Now, it was clear that Uhuru men were working very hard to make sure that BBI is failing. There are several things they were sneaking into the BBI to frustrate the process so that it will end up failing. And as Mudavadi has mentioned, I want to go deeper and then explain some of this reason. But before we go deep into that, just a quick request. For those who are watching and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. To our returning subscribers, thank you so much. And to all our viewers, please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you, and back to this discussion. Now, as Musalia Mudavadi has mentioned, some of these people were going to stay with railaodinga if BBI was going to pass. That is the truth of the matter. But once BBI failed, at the time Musalia Mudavadi walked out from Kenya Kwanza, not Kenya Kwanza, from NASA, and at the time Senator Wetangula walked out of NASA. And they went on to form another coalition. Kalonzo was about to go, but through Gideon Moi, he was forced to stay. And some intervention from Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But if you check on what Musalia Mudavadi is talking about, the ombudsman who was to be appointed by the president to supervise judiciary. This was actually a president supervising judiciary through ombudsman. That, like Musalia Mudavadi put it, it was someone shooting in his own foot. As simple as that. Because there was no way judiciary would allow someone to sit there and always supervise on the kind of judgment they were going to make. But again, I don't want to go back into those mode of BBI and the campaign. But what I can tell you here, na wacha tu sasa leo niseme ukweli tena. Musalia Mudavadi was pointing to some of these issues at Bomas. He was clear on some of these issues, but some of the NASA supporters or Railaodinga allies were shouting at him. I still have the videos. I have the clips. They were shouting at him, but he was pointing out some of the issues that was supposed to be patched out from BBI so that it can pass. So some of these people were learning that there are people who are determined to frustrate BBI so that at the end of the day, it end up failing. Hiyo tu ni ukweli kabisa. Kuna watu walitumia mbinu zote kuhakikisha ya kwamba BBI will not see the light of the day. That's why they were forcing ombudsman. People like Mudavadi were against this. And you see, judiciary could not allow it. But now, another issue was all about the addition of the 70 new constituencies. Again, this was the work of the IEBC, Electoral Commission Board. How ndio wako na mandate to either add more constituencies or even reduce. Because for you to have these constituencies, they look on population, number of people in a specific area. If it is enough, then they can add, and if it's less, they will reduce. Or they can add a constituency, then give it time. Maybe within 5 years, they expect that population is going to increase. So you natakana wakue watu 100,000, something like that. Someone can tell us in the comment section. But now, you look into the issue of the additional 70 constituencies, even how they were distributing in the country, to show you the impunity that these people were putting in the BBI, which even make these judges to reject it totally. Out of 70, you will agree with me that at least 60% was going to Mount Kenya region. In that 60%, it means out of 70, 34 was going to Mount Kenya. And when you talk about this 34, there are things that comes in with the constituencies. You have new member of parliament, you have office, and it comes with the CDF. Unajua CDF size kwa constituency ni karibu 130 something million shillings. So that means they were adding about 4.7 billion Kenyan shillings to Mount Kenya region through the NGCDF that was going to Mount Kenya. Look at that. Number two, you come to what they were giving to Rift Valley. Out of 70, Rift Valley was getting 23 new constituencies. This again, it was attracting to a tune of 3.2 billion Kenyan shillings through the NGCDF Rift Valley. Sasa, here is where the bombshell comes in. You now come to Western region, combine it together with the Nyanza region. It was being given 11 new constituencies out of 70. 11. I'm talking about Nyanza and Western. Not only Nyanza region. Only 11. But Mount Kenya alone, 34. Rift Valley alone, 23. Now, with the 11 constituencies in Western and Nyanza region, it was going to attract merely 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings as NGCDF funding. So you look at that. If you divide this one, you will find that even Western alone, it cannot get even $1 billion. It will get less than a half. Nyanza will not get even $1 billion, less than a half. That means there was some level of impunity toward the Western region, larger Western region. That means Nyanza and the Western itself. There was some level of impunity towards this area when it came to division of this new constituency. So that alone shows that people were trying to force even number of constituencies in a specific region to make it even very hard for anyone who would challenge it, it could not go through. The only thing they could have done was wapendekeza hizo 70 constituencies, but leave it in the hands of BBI to divide it among those areas in their specific regions, but not again leave the issue of division in the hands of these people. So BBI was supposed to leave this one in the hands of IEBC. IEBC wafanya hiyo, ndio watauleza hiyo maswali. So already even in that way, there was some kind of treatment of Western and Nyanza to impunity, in as much BBI was being fronted as a Raila Uhuru document. But largely, Raila Odinga first was carrying the day in the BBI. All of these things, they were not good. They were not good even for Western, not good for Nyanza region. And again, you look on how Mudavadi talk about the issue of ombudsman, all these were enough to nullify BBI. That alone makes me to believe what Babu Owino said. It was all about a long con. Some people were there, not with Raila Odinga, but just to make him comfortable. But at the end of the day, they had their plan to have their man in the office. Because you challenge me, tell me in the comment section, if BBI would have not been infiltrated, then it goes through. Then you have Raila Odinga here on ballot as a presidential candidate. You have Kalonzo Musyoka as his running mate. And then just like in NASA, Musalia Mudavadi is here as the prime cabinet secretary in the constitution. And then Wetangula ako pale unampea kitu ingine. Tell me, how would it be possible for William Samoei Ruto to convince Mudavadi to join him with a promise to be a prime cabinet secretary when BBI has allowed? Would he have moved from Raila Odinga to go to William Ruto? He would have not done so. But because BBI was frustrated to make some people not comfortable there, that's what informed politicians to always have their personal interest first.